There are moments in life when a date on the calendar feels like more than just another day. When the atmosphere shifts and something deep in our spirit begins to stir with divine urgency. October 16, 2025 is one of those moments that carries a prophetic weight, a call for believers to rise, to awaken, and to examine the posture of their hearts. It is not about fear, but about preparation, not about panic, but about alignment. There is a stirring in the heavens, a sound that echoes across the earth, calling Christians to step out of spiritual complacency and step into divine assignment. This is a moment where destiny meets decision, where faith must become more than a confession. It must become a lifestyle that reflects the kingdom in power, obedience, and boldness. God is not warning his people to scare them. He is positioning them to carry his glory in a time where darkness will try to cover the earth. The question is not what will happen around us, but what will be birthed within us as God separates those who are simply believers from those who are true carriers of his presence. There is a moment in time when God draws a line in the sand, not to divide his people out of rejection, but to mark those who are ready to walk in a deeper covenant with him. As time progresses and prophetic seasons unfold, the difference between those who carry a casual belief and those who are consumed by kingdom purpose becomes undeniable. Casual believers are satisfied with moments of inspiration, moments of emotional uplift, and moments where faith feels convenient and comfortable. But kingdom carriers understand that this walk requires surrender, discipline, and a willingness to be set apart from what is familiar. The divine separation is not about labels, it is about posture. God is searching the earth for those whose hearts are fully turned toward him, those who do not just wear Christianity as an identity, but live it as an expression of his presence on earth. There is a weight to this calling, a seriousness in the spirit, because what is coming requires more than surface level faith. It requires believers who understand authority, prayer, resilience, and spiritual discernment. In this season, the separation will not be defined by who attends church or who speaks the language of faith, but by who bears fruit when pressure arises. The refining process is increasing because God is preparing a people who can stand firm when the world begins to shake. Believers who follow the crowd will find themselves easily swayed by fear, culture, and confusion. But those who have allowed God to prune them, stretch them, and build endurance in them will not just survive the coming days, they will rise with a new level of authority. They will not panic when the news announces chaos. They will not fold when systems collapse, because their foundation is not built on earthly security, but on kingdom identity. This separation is an act of love from God because he refuses to let his people enter a prophetic season unprepared. He is calling his children out of passivity, out of lukewarm faith, and out of spiritual laziness, and into a place of intentional pursuit of his presence. Those who are willing to be set apart will begin to feel a holy discomfort with things that once entertained them. Conversations that once felt harmless will now feel heavy with conviction. Environments that once felt normal will now feel misaligned with their spirit. This is the beginning of divine separation, not through public declaration, but through internal transformation. God is whispering to the hearts of his people, telling them to come higher, to come deeper, to detach from distractions and step into focus. Many will feel misunderstood in this season because the call on their life is not common, and the hunger in their spirit cannot be fed by ordinary routines. This separation will even affect relationships, connections, and circles, because God is removing dead weight that cannot go into the next dimension of purpose. Those who respond to this separation will walk with a sense of urgency, not driven by fear, but by assignment. Their prayers will shift from requesting blessings to requesting alignment. Their worship will shift from emotional expression to spiritual surrender. Their decisions will no longer be based on preference, but on obedience. In this separation, God is not looking for perfection. He is looking for willingness. A willing vessel carries more power than a talented one. A surrendered heart carries more authority than a platform. Casual believers may know the words of faith, but kingdom carriers understand the weight of faith. They do not wait for perfect conditions to move. They move because God spoke. They do not need applause to stay committed. They stay committed because they know they are part of a divine blueprint written before time. This distinction will become clearer as challenges rise. Casual belief will collapse under pressure, but true commitment will thrive under it. The world will begin to witness the difference between those who simply proclaimed faith and those who were forged in it. The divine separation is being activated in silence, in personal moments with God, in private altars being rebuilt, in disciplines being restored, and in hearts being recalibrated to hear his voice above all others. This is not a season to blend in. It is a season to be set apart, to be marked by heaven, to be recognized in the spirit realm as one who carries oil, authority, and kingdom fire within them. There is a prophetic urgency rising in the spirit, a divine push that is calling believers out of cycles of spiritual stagnation and into a place of movement, growth, and awakening. God is stirring something within the hearts of his people, something that refuses to let them stay comfortable in patterns of complacency. This urgency is not loud in the natural, yet it echoes powerfully in the spirit. It comes in the form of restlessness when trying to settle for an average walk with God. It shows up in moments where what used to satisfy now feels empty. It appears when a believer realizes that inspiration without transformation has no eternal value. The urgency of this season is heaven's reminder that time is moving, prophecy is unfolding, and spiritual passivity cannot coexist with divine assignment. Stagnation has become too familiar for many, and the danger of familiarity is that it makes captivity feel comfortable. When a person gets used to being spiritually still, they begin to mistake survival for purpose. But there is more to this walk than barely holding on. There is a mandate to grow, to evolve, to sharpen discernment, and to step into a maturity that cannot be shaken by emotional waves or cultural distractions. This urgency is a wake-up call to those who have been spiritually asleep while still being physically active. Activity does not always mean alignment. A believer can be busy with religious routines while their heart is disconnected from the presence of God. They can quote scripture but lack revelation. They can speak faith but not walk in it. They can attend services but still live in cycles of emotional and spiritual defeat. This season is exposing the difference between movement and progress. God is not impressed by how much religious work a person does. He is after transformation that reflects heaven's nature on earth. Many have been stuck in cycles, repeating the same prayers without stepping into the obedience required to see breakthrough. The prophetic urgency is pulling them out of repetition and into revelation, out of surviving and into truly walking with authority. It is no longer enough to hear the word. The demand now is to live it, breathe it, reflect it in every decision, every response, every environment. There comes a point when God will disrupt comfort to activate calling. Stagnation thrives where comfort is tolerated more than purpose. The urgency in this season is confronting every excuse that has delayed obedience. It is challenging every mindset that has normalized procrastination in the spirit. Many say they are waiting on God, but heaven is revealing that God has been waiting on them to step out of fear, to step away from distractions, to shut the door on double-minded living. The urgency is not chaotic, it is strategic. It is not meant to create anxiety, but to create alignment. It is a holy push that tells the believer it is time to stop circling the same mountain and start possessing the territory promised long ago. This urgency makes a person uncomfortable with wasted time. It makes them evaluate where their attention has been going, where their energy has been spent, and whether their life reflects preparation or passivity. The days ahead require believers who are awake, alert, and spiritually disciplined. Casual faith will not withstand what is ahead, but a life anchored in intentional pursuit of God's presence will. The urgency does not just call for emotional hype, it calls for disciplined transformation. It calls for prayer that goes beyond request and becomes communion. It calls for faith that goes beyond talk and becomes action. It calls for worship that goes beyond music and becomes lifestyle. When urgency is ignored, hearts become dull and discernment becomes clouded. When urgency is embraced, there is a sharpening in the spirit, an awareness that every moment matters, every choice matters, every word spoken carries weight. This is why distractions have increased, because stagnation thrives in distraction. But the Spirit is pulling believers back into focus, back into intentional intimacy with God, back into alignment where their spirit is more awake than their emotions. This urgency will not allow them to settle in environments that suffocate their calling. It will not allow them to stay silent when their voice is needed. It will not allow them to delay decisions that heaven has already confirmed. The world is moving quickly, agendas are unfolding, and heaven is not sending this urgency to instill fear, but to equip believers to stand firm, fully awake, fully aligned, ready to walk with power and clarity in a time where many will be spiritually drifting without direction. There is a rising in the spirit, a quiet but undeniable movement of a remnant that is not driven by popularity but by obedience. This remnant is not concerned with being seen by people. They are focused on being approved in heaven. They are not seeking applause, they are seeking alignment. In a time where many are chasing influence, this remnant is chasing intimacy with God. They understand that authority in the Spirit is not measured by how many people know their name, but by whether heaven recognizes their obedience. This remnant is not loud in the natural, yet their presence carries a spiritual weight. Wherever they go, atmosphere shifts, conviction rises, and the presence of God becomes evident because they are carriers of something that cannot be manufactured by charisma or performance. They have gone through a hidden process where God has stripped away the desire to impress and replaced it with a hunger to please only Him. They are not moved by trends, they are rooted in truth. The characteristics of this remnant are not flashy. They do not seek platforms, they seek prayer. They do not crave validation, they crave the voice of God. While others are measuring success by numbers and visibility, this remnant measures success by obedience and transformation. They are willing to walk alone if it means walking in truth. They have been misunderstood, overlooked, and sometimes even rejected because their spirit refuses to conform to the expectations of people. Yet that rejection became the training ground that forged their identity. The remnant rising in this season understands that hidden seasons are not punishment but preparation. While others were seeking exposure, they were being refined in solitude. While others were building an image, they were building an altar. And now, without striving for it, their obedience is positioning them for assignments that influence cannot buy. This remnant is marked not by perfection, but by surrender. They have scars from battles fought in secret, but those scars carry authority. They have faced warfare that others did not see, battles that had nothing to do with external circumstances, but everything to do with internal surrender. They have allowed God to break pride, to confront insecurity, to rewrite their identity according to heaven's design. They have walked through seasons where nothing made sense, where prayers were met with silence, where obedience led to isolation instead of recognition. But in that isolation, they were learning the sound of God's voice, the rhythm of His instruction, the weight of carrying His presence. Now their authority is not in their tone, but in their testimony. They do not just speak words, they carry evidence of transformation. This remnant is rising because the world will no longer be transformed by shallow inspiration, but by people who carry the glory of God without compromise. They have no interest in blending in. They do not adjust their message to make others comfortable. They are not afraid to stand firm when truth is unpopular. They understand that light was never meant to blend with darkness. It was meant to expose it. They walk in humility, yet their presence disrupts complacency. They do not argue for attention because they know their assignment is not to be seen but to be effective. Their prayers are dangerous because they come from a place of consecration. Their words carry impact because they are birthed in obedience, not ambition. The world may not recognize them at first, but the enemy does because obedience is more threatening to darkness than influence. This remnant does not fear being hidden because they know that being hidden in God is safer than being elevated by man. They understand that premature exposure can destroy what only maturity can protect. They move in time with heaven, not ahead of it. They are not swayed by delays because they understand that divine timing is part of divine protection. They trust that when it is time, doors will not just open, they will be commanded to open. Until then, they remain faithful in the unseen, consistent in obedience, unwavering in devotion. They are not waiting for opportunities. They are becoming the kind of vessels heaven can trust with opportunities. What sets this remnant apart is their ability to remain anchored when others drift. They do not chase spiritual highs. They remain committed in quiet consistency. They understand that oil is not produced in moments of excitement, but in the crushing of surrender. And because they have been crushed, they carry oil that does not run out when pressure comes. When others panic, they remain steady. When others compromise, they remain convicted. When others shift their message to fit culture, they remain rooted in the unshakable word of God. They did not choose this path to be different. They were chosen for it because heaven saw a heart that would not bow to the systems of this world. There is a divine unveiling taking place, a revealing of hidden assignments that have been waiting in the depths of the Spirit for the appointed time. Many have felt a sense of divine restlessness, a stirring that they cannot explain, a pull away from what once felt comfortable. This is not random. It is the signal that a new assignment is being activated. Hidden seasons have not been wasted seasons. They have been sacred training grounds where character was built quietly, where discernment was sharpened without applause, where faith was tested without an audience. The unveiling is not simply about being seen. It is about being released into purpose that carries weight in the Spirit. Some assignments will not come with applause. Some will not be glamorous. Some will require stepping into unfamiliar territory with nothing but a word from God. But those who have been prepared in silence will recognize the call when it comes, even if it does not look like what they expected. The unveiling is unexpected because God is not limited to familiar methods. He does not need permission from systems or platforms to elevate someone. When heaven says it is time, no human gate can stand in the way. Many who were overlooked by people are being noticed by heaven, and heaven's recognition is the only one that carries true authority. The unveiling will not always start with visibility. Sometimes it will start with responsibility. Before public elevation, there will be private instruction. Before doors open, there will be a moment of decision where obedience must override comfort. Assignments are not given to the most talented. They are given to the most surrendered. Those who have learned to say yes in hidden places will carry an ease of obedience when God begins to move them into new territory. This unveiling will challenge comfort zones. It will interrupt routines. It will break cycles of passive waiting and lead into active alignment with divine purpose. Elevation in this season will not look like worldly promotion. It will look like being positioned where heaven needs light the most, even if those places seem insignificant in the eyes of people. Some will be elevated into influence, but others will be elevated into intercession. Some will be sent into arenas of leadership, while others will be planted strategically in hidden corners of culture where their obedience will shift atmospheres silently but powerfully. This unveiling is not about titles or recognition. It is about divine placement. God is releasing assignments that require courage, assignments that will demand a higher level of trust, assignments that will expose every area where dependency on human approval still exists. Those who embrace these assignments will not chase exposure, they will chase impact. They will not ask, "Will people see me?" but rather, "Will heaven be pleased with me?" The unveiling will also expose what has been dormant within. Many have carried prophetic blueprints in their spirit, but have been unsure of when to build. That hesitation is breaking. Clarity is coming. Blueprints that once felt blurry will suddenly make sense because timing has aligned with destiny. The delay was not denial, it was preparation. God was aligning resources, connections, and inner stability so that when the assignment is revealed, it will not crush the vessel carrying it. Elevation without preparation leads to collapse, but preparation before elevation leads to sustainability. This season will reveal who has been quietly preparing and who has been passively waiting for things to fall into their lap. Those who prepared will recognize the shift and step into it with confidence, not because they feel qualified, but because they are anchored in obedience. Unexpected elevation will come through obedience to simple instructions. It may begin with a whisper in prayer, a nudge to move, a prompting to speak, create, build, or separate. The moment that instruction is honored, doors will begin to respond. Heaven does not unlock doors for those who admire purpose. It unlocks doors for those who act on it. Those who have been faithful with what seems small will suddenly find themselves entrusted with more. They will not have to chase opportunity. Opportunity will be drawn to their obedience. This is not accidental. It is the manifestation of divine order. Alignment attracts assignments. Obedience activates movement. Heaven backs those who move when God speaks, even when they do not fully understand the outcome. In this unveiling, confidence will not come from ability, but from presence. Those who step into their assignment will do so with trembling hands, but steady spirits because they know who sent them. They will not waste time explaining their calling to those who cannot comprehend it. They will not seek validation from those who did not witness their preparation. They will simply move, and heaven will confirm their steps as they go. Is a moment coming where what has been hidden in the hearts of many will be exposed by the fire of preparation. This fire does not come to destroy, but to reveal. It reveals the difference between what is genuine and what is performative, between what is rooted in true devotion and what is based on convenience. Many have carried a form of faith that looks convincing outwardly, yet lacks depth when pressure comes. In seasons of comfort, it is easy to appear strong, committed, and unshaken. But when the refining fire of preparation begins to move through a life, it reveals what cannot be seen in moments of ease. It exposes whether faith is merely spoken or truly lived. The exposure of counterfeit faith is not meant to shame, but to awaken. It is a divine mercy that reveals weakness so that it can be strengthened before greater pressure arrives. The refining fire comes in the form of testing, delays, resistance, and moments where God feels silent. These moments separate those who walk by feelings from those who walk by conviction. Counterfeit faith seeks comfort. True faith seeks transformation. Counterfeit faith looks for quick results. True faith endures the process. When nothing moves, when prayers seem delayed, when doors feel shut, counterfeit faith begins to question identity, purpose, and promise. But true faith remains anchored, not because it understands everything, but because it trusts the one who gave the word. This is the refining work that prepares believers for what is ahead. The days coming will shake everything that is not rooted in truth. Emotional faith will waver. Trend-based belief will fade. But those who allowed the fire to purify their motives will stand firm, unbothered by the noise around them, fixed on assignment, steady in spirit. Preparation is not glamorous. It is a silent work, often misunderstood. Many mistake preparation for punishment because they do not see immediate results. But preparation is the most loving act of God toward those he intends to use powerfully. He refuses to let them carry an assignment with shaky foundations. He refuses to let them speak of fire while living without it. He refuses to let them declare victory while avoiding the battles that build authority. The refining fire clears out the need for validation, burns away the pride that seeks recognition, and crushes the illusions that one can walk in purpose without surrender. It confronts double living, where the mouth speaks surrender, but the heart still negotiates obedience. When the fire comes, negotiation ends. It becomes clear that carrying the presence of God requires more than passion. It requires purity in intentions, discipline in lifestyle, and consistency in devotion. The exposure of counterfeit faith will not just be seen in individuals, but also in systems, platforms, and structures that have been built on performance rather than presence. There will be a visible difference between those who speak with charisma and those who speak with authority. Authority cannot be mimicked. It is birthed in the fire. Those who carry true authority will not need to convince anyone of their authenticity. It will be felt not in volume, but in weight. Their presence will carry conviction, not because of eloquence, but because of consecration. When they speak, it will not be noise, it will be alignment. When they move, it will not be ambition, it will be obedience. These are the ones the fire has refined. Preparation will also reveal the strength of intimacy. Those who know God only through public expression will struggle when everything becomes private. But those who built an altar in the unseen will thrive when noise increases in the world. They do not panic because their confidence is not in being seen, but in being anchored. When pressures intensify and distractions grow louder, they will not seek an escape, they will seek deeper presence. This is the fruit of refinement. The fire does not just burn away weakness, it strengthens what remains. Those who endure it emerge with a faith that does not flinch, a focus that does not scatter, and a love for God that cannot be shaken by circumstance. The refining season is a gift, even though it does not feel like one. It is God preparing vessels who will not crumble under influence, who will not dilute truth for acceptance, who will not compromise under pressure. These vessels will not just speak of faith, they will demonstrate it. They will not just talk about fire, they will carry it. Their lives will become evidence that preparation produces power, that refining produces resilience, and that what survives the fire carries a glory that cannot be manufactured by human effort,